Sells His Soul is filmed in front of a live streaming audience, so don't forget to comment throughout the show. The show's about to get started, so grab yourself 2 hearty buckets of popcorn and get ready to have a discussion about how to use your creative talents to sell. Now it's time for a message from today's sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Flying Cat. Flying Cat. Google it! Google Flying Cat. I'll give you a minute. Thank you. Live from Chicago, it's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my show where I have conversations with cool people who will help you work more creatively. Please welcome my guest, Chris Van Praag. Chris, welcome back to the show. This is the first ever, actually no, Robert Jones did it once. This is the second time ever we brought a guest back. Chris Van Praag, please say hello and let my audience know where they can find you.
Hello, I'm very, very glad to be following in the legend Rob Jones's footprints and being invited back to the show. Thank you very much. Yeah, my name is Chris Van Praag. I am on LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. You're already on LinkedIn. Go find me on LinkedIn. I'm there.
Yeah.
There I am. Oh, look at that QR code. How profesh.
Yeah, Chris Van Praag. I'll give you a minute, everybody. Take your phone out. Nobody knows how QR codes work, so I'll explain it. You switch your phone to camera mode. Scan the QR code. Go be friends with Chris Van Praag. He is amazing. His content is hilarious. And I should probably take this time to introduce myself as well. So my name is Chris Bogue. I am your host. I am an entrepreneur and video coach and sketch comedian. And you can also find me on LinkedIn. You can also find my course on chrisbogue.io. And best thing you can do, go to LinkedIn, click the bell. You'll always get new updates from me. And go ahead and send me a connection request. I'm friendly. I will accept your connection request. Don't even put a custom message in there. I don't want to make you think of that. This is the show. Welcome. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Apollo and Flying Cat. You're going to see fantastic content from them later on in the show. Chris and I are going to be talking a lot about video today. We're going to be talking about how to create video content. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn. We're going to be talking about TikTok. We're going to be talking about walking the fine line between work and entertainment and what our processes are for creativity. But first, we want to hear from you. So if you are watching this live on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter or wherever you watch this, leave us a comment. All right? We do not know that you're here unless you leave a comment. So go ahead. Anything you want to do, you can go ahead and drop your questions to Chris or myself there in the comments. We are going to be answering your questions all throughout the show. So if you are fans of ours, if you've ever seen our comedy and you have any questions about things you've seen us do, or if you want to get more kind of into process, I know I'm going to pick Chris's brain a lot today about how he writes, how he plans, how he does this stuff. So drop questions throughout the episode and we will do our best to answer them. And without further ado, let's get started. So, Chris, when I last had you on my show, it was 2021. I know, time flies, right? It is now 2024 when we are recording this episode right now. And it's funny, there's a lot of brands that have come and gone on LinkedIn. I have seen creators go at it really hard, do very well for themselves, and get burnt out and then stop. You have been going this whole time. And I've always enjoyed your stuff because if anybody's never seen Chris Van Praag's content, it's very funny. It's very relatable. You have a really, I think, interesting way of tapping into what's human about the sales process and putting it out there in a way that is fun, not mean-spirited, but just kind of something we can all enjoy. So let's start with how you got started. And then we'll kind of venture into like, how can others get started in 2024? So yourself first.
Yeah. It's interesting. I can't believe it's 2021. So, I'll touch you because you touched on a couple of points there. Like I've sort of always been making content. I think that's because I've always made content for me and for stuff that I enjoyed making, rather than it was like I was asked to do stuff. Because I think that might often cause like an ebb and flow where someone's doing it because it's part of their job, which is great if that is part of your job, but that might cause that. I always made content because I enjoyed doing it first and foremost. It was fun for me. And I started to see a benefit personally from how it helped me to be able to build an audience and ultimately generate some leads and build a personal brand and all the good things that come from there. So I always did it for me. And I've also been quite, I've never really set myself particular, like, oh, I'm going to post every day, because I don't like those kinds of goals, because I feel like if I break those goals, then I'll give up. So I've always just kind of posted quite casually, which is why I've consistently posted video for 4 years, and I'm very proud to have like 10,000 followers. But other people have got way, way more than that, probably because they've been outputting loads more, and I haven't done that. I've created content for the fun of content. So I think in terms of like getting started, that is something people could think about. Like, don't put yourself under pressure to like, I'm going to post every day. And there's like the brand 30 stuff and things that people do. Video content takes time. It's hard. It's hard to come up with ideas. It's hard to edit and produce stuff. So I always just like had an idea and made it as and when it felt right for me. I did a post about this today just to promote this event. I first started making video content that was just really boring because I felt like it was LinkedIn, and so I had to like post something kind of very businessy. So I ended up like talking through like case studies that the company I was working for at the time had, and it was just me like trying to be all thought leadery, and I just was they were just not very good. They're still there. You can go and find them if you search back far enough. And then I started making stuff that I was more like passionate about and that I found fun. Just like when I first started, probably the first videos that started to catch people's attention was where I found I made these like what I called conversations with myself. So I made a video where it was, I found a way of very straightforwardly recording from one place, me sat in one seat, me sat in another seat. You mask it over halfway, so there's two me's in the same scene, and I wrote a script of me talking to myself, and it was quite tough. It was a fun process learning because you have to leave enough time to, and I found some ways of doing that by like listening on half the conversation and filling in the gaps and stuff. But that was really interesting, and it was a bit different. So I started making that, and I was talking about inbound marketing at the time, and it was just various little topics and things. And I think that was a real thumb stopper because people would see that in the feed and be like, "Oh, hold on, this isn't just like a boring B2B video. It's something different because there's two people there." So I started making those, and then I started making videos where I cut myself into like movie clips. So I wasn't talking to me. I was talking to like Ryan Gosling in The Notebook, or I was talking to like Brad Pitt in Seven, where he opens the box, and doing all that kind of stuff. And I just started having fun with it. And the more I kind of would come up with an idea that I wanted to make, and then I would go out and just learn how to make that, rather than being like, I don't know how to make that, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to stick to like me talking to camera and editing that because I know how to do that. I was like, oh, I don't know how green screen works. I feel like this needs green screen. I'd go and learn. And that's always been my process, and still is my process now. Like I wouldn't consider myself a video editor. I just know how to edit for the things I need to do. And if I don't know how to do something, I'll find the time to learn. So it's been a hobby. It's like a passion project of mine. So I find time where I don't have time to learn how to do it and to make cool stuff. And over the years, I've just got better and come up with different concepts, and then I kind of lean into different things. And it's just been a bit of a fun journey, really.
Yeah, I want to jump in on something you said there because one of the guests I've had on the show, Will Aitken, he talked about his first videos, and he's very dismissive of them. And I catch a hint of this in what you're saying too, where they're like, my early videos were so boring, they were so bad. And I still, no matter how much crazy stuff I do on LinkedIn, I do a lot of crazy stuff with the content. But when I'm coaching somebody, we almost always just start with like talk about something, and there's a lot of people on LinkedIn who are successful with that, much more successful than me, by the way. There are people out there who like they'll go out there with no prep and they'll walk around and they'll talk about something, in their cul-de-sac by their house, and they'll get like 10 times as much engagement as me. So my thing is like, you have to start with something. And I think when people look at creators like you and I, when they say green screens and multi characters and Hollywood cameos and all this stuff, they like they don't even know what they would want out of that experience, where I kind of feel like form follows function. And once you start getting on video talking about things, you're suddenly going to find out you want to do other things, you know? And for me, that was like as simple as being like, okay, I'm talking on screen. I want some text to appear. You know, I think this concept would be helpful if I had text on the screen showing the audience the lesson that I'm talking about. And once you learn how to make things appear on the screen, then you're like, oh, wait, I could do, and you start getting all these new kind of creative possibilities. But I think it's just like the getting started part is so hard for people. So like when you were doing boring content, let's get before you were doing all this crazy TikTok stuff and had like diehard fans, like were you planning that? I know you said you don't do the daily output thing, but is there like a weekly or monthly kind of output goal you were looking for? Like for example, when I started making videos, I was like, I'm gonna make 2 a week. I'm gonna get 2 out no matter what. And then once I got faster, I raised that up to like 3 or 4. You know, and sometimes I fell short of that goal. Sometimes I would go 2 weeks without getting a video out. But like just pushing myself to do something 2 to 4 times a week, I got those initial reps in and I started figuring out my style and my comedy started creeping in and eventually it morphed into what you see today. So like what would you recommend if somebody had to go out there and start it, if they're not doing every single day, what kind of planning should they be putting into this at the outset of this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I first started making videos, I didn't have a goal other than I wanted to sort of be posting regularly, which in my mind, I think was like once a week. I just wanted to create a video. And I had all these grand aspirations that I was going to release this video and it was going to go out and everybody would reply to it saying, wow, you know, because I was talking through case studies that my ideal, you know, my ICP were going to see it and comment on it and immediately want to just buy my services. Yeah. What? I can do that. I can Forex my revenue. Let's go. And then, of
Save
course,
time and money.
yeah.
Where do I sign up?
So that never happened. So then when it morphed into me making videos that I just enjoyed and I had ideas, and we'll come to this a bit in terms of like inspiration. But the thing that really drove me was that like I had ideas that I wanted to make, and that was my motivation. I wanted to get them done. I wanted to get them out because as I did it, I felt a degree of success. And you know, I'm a big junkie fan of feedback, right? So like I'd get really nice comments and I'd get reactions, and that for me was that dopamine hit of like the notifications was good
You're
stuff.
You're a good
good
boy,
stuff.
Chris.
Absolutely, yeah. It was good stuff for me, especially someone who didn't really feel like at the time wasn't sure if I belonged on LinkedIn. So getting nice comments from people and that motivated me to do more. So I think at the time it was just make a video, and then when I had an idea, it would be just try and produce that week. But what happened was I started coming up with like new ideas, and I was really enthused to make them because in my mind I just knew what it was like. I kind of visualized what it was going to be like, and I was like, I want to see that. I want to get that out into the wild. And that was my motivation. So it was to try and regularly post. So at the time it was once a week, and even now my goal is really like if I put 2 to 3 videos out a week, that's amazing really for me. I'd be really happy if I put 3 net new videos out a week. And now I'm producing videos for like Apollo, like I'm contracted to produce. So I produce enough content to do that, and I just choose what I do. But yeah, you don't suddenly need to be producing loads. It's just like be motivated to do that. Someone messaged me recently and they had an idea. They just wanted to put the idea into thing. I was like, well, that's your motivation. Just make that. Don't worry about other stuff. You've got an idea, run with that and use that as your test bed. Use that as so if there's folks out there that are like, I want to make video, I think this would be fun. Or even if it is just, I want to go out and shoot a video because I'm a subject matter expert in something. So I'm going to just go out and record myself. Just go and do it. Like you just have to start somewhere, right? And we hear that everywhere, but that really is the truth.
Everyone's got a very good camera in their phone. Even if your phone is like 8 years old, it's probably got an HD camera. If you shoot in good lighting, you will look good in there. And one thing that people don't realize, Chris, we could talk about if you've ever done anything like this. This is an assignment I do regularly with my coaching clients. people don't realize that like sometimes if I have a video that is like really successful and it does really well with the algorithm, it's because it's version number 2 of an idea that didn't work so well the first time. There has been numerous times throughout my video career where I had a really good idea in my head. I'm like, I'm just going to push it out there. I'm going to get it out there. It did okay. And then 6 months later or a year later, I'm a little older, I'm a little wiser, I'm a little bit better with the editing. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to revisit that idea and I'm going to go a little bit deeper on that idea and I'm going to try to do a version. And then that version blows up, you know? And this is something that I have my clients do too, where you make a video at the start of it. And then 90 days later, it's like, okay, now we're going to do version 2 of this idea that you had. Now that you're better, faster, better with the production. And it's like, yeah, I think there's so much, and maybe you could talk about this too. I don't have this in the notes here. We can talk about the dread that comes with thinking something isn't going to be good enough, and how ashamed people get when it doesn't perform. But and like that happens with me too. Oh my god, I'm mortified when I put hours into making a comedy sketch and it gets very little engagement. That's a huge waste of my time, you know. But people have to remember, if your video bombs, it just means nobody saw it, you know. And oftentimes for me, I've even looked at it, and again, I'll shut up and throw this back to you in a minute. I have noticed oftentimes when a video of mine fails, especially on LinkedIn, it's because the first 5 seconds weren't dynamic enough. I'll look at it and I'll be like, you know what? There is stock footage, there is a title screen. I don't see an actual human being doing something interesting until 6 seconds into the video. And that's too long away. You don't catch somebody scrolling like that. And it's like, I'll literally sometimes just chop off the beginning and it just starts a couple seconds later and the performance is totally different, you know? So do you ever do that? Do you ever revisit ideas? Have you ever given new life to an idea that maybe, you know, only performed moderately well the first time through?
Yeah, I think I've definitely. I don't think I've gone back to the same idea, because quite often when I've made something, and it's often very specific to like, I might have been, you know, I find a way of segueing into a specific feature that I'm talking about or a specific thing that doesn't work. But I absolutely have revisited and done. I've had series, I say conversations with myself. I mentioned earlier, the first one I did was probably the worst one I did, but I made a few of them. Right, it did well enough for me to feel like I should make another one. I enjoyed making it enough, and as I did it, I got better and better. And then I kind of stopped doing it for years, and I revisited it recently when I was making a video for Supered, and I just had a different way of thinking. And actually, at the time, I had to do it all in one shot where I was talking to myself, and that created a lot of editing hassle, because when you shoot that once, I have to perfectly line up every other line of the other person. And I didn't think that actually I could just do a cutaway to one person zoomed in, and that would basically allow me to reset the timings on the whole rest of the thing. And I didn't think about that at the time. Originally, I was like, well, I have to do it all in one take where both people are talking to each other perfectly. And then I did it recently, and it was so much quicker because I could just do a one take of it. And where the lines didn't line up, I just zoomed in on myself or one of myself, and then came back out for the rest of it, and it all lined up again. So I just didn't think about that. So yeah, absolutely. I think going back to stuff, you have ideas, you improve on stuff, you've learned how to do certain things. Yes, absolutely. Like getting snappier, getting quicker, trying to think about why things weren't successful. I don't spend too much time worrying about it if something wasn't successful. It's a bit annoying, especially if it's something I've had it where it's really like I'm really pleased with it, and then you just put it out and it just doesn't get seen. And quite what that's down to, you know, maybe it's the algorithm, maybe it's the quality, it's probably a bit of both. But I don't let that get to me. You just put out another piece of content and see how that does. But I've kind of given up trying to think about whether something is whether something's perfect or not, I suppose. I just get it out and then move on to the next one.
Excellent. Well, Bill, thank you for chiming in. Bill here is asking about how you educate yourself on the LinkedIn algorithm to optimize results. I want to get deep into that topic in the second half of our conversation. In the second half, Chris and I, we're going to go deep into making this actionable for everybody at home. Got a lot of questions about the creative process. I want to ask them. But first, I think it's time for another round of Gimme Gimme. Chris, you want to do Gimme Gimme?
Yeah, let's do Gimme Gimme.
Let's do Gimme Gimme. Okay. So if people don't know, there is a pernicious myth that has been circulating on LinkedIn for years, right? So people say all sorts of crazy, untrue things about LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is a place for friendship, right? That LinkedIn exists for people to selflessly give away value and never ask for anything in return. But we know that's not true, right, folks? We know that LinkedIn was actually created specifically so people could make money. That's right. It's the first social network that did that. It's all about finding new jobs, finding new opportunities, hiring new great candidates so you can make more money. So every episode, my guest and I like to pop into character, and we like to take a moment to ask my audience for exactly what we want from them today. So CVP, you ready to do this?
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Hello! Welcome to another episode of Gimme Gimme. This is Boss Bogue. This is the part of the show where I ask you for money. Chris Van Praag, you got my audience here. They have money. They're on LinkedIn. What do you want to ask them for?
Well, it's all there on the screen. Follow, just give me a follow. I ask for nothing in return. I will just post fun, original, educational content that will improve your feed no end. And if you're a RevOps or leader, then you'll probably see some interesting value in some of the stuff that I post, or a sales professional. And the only other thing I'll ask you to do is if you're on TikTok, go and follow the Apollo.io TikTok, because there's loads more content on there, and it's fun. And we're doing some good stuff. And the more followers we get, the more I can keep doing it. So please go over there and give us a follow and like all of our stuff and put some comments. That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, go ahead, follow Chris Van Praag. Even if you have no interest in learning anything, he's going to get that education in there anyway. Right, folks? He's going to slip it to you like you slip dog medicine into a piece of lunch meat, right? That's what he does here, because I know you people don't actually accept the information if we just give it to you straight, right? You need characters and fanciful entertainment, and you're going to get that if you connect with Chris on LinkedIn. And guess what? Today's show is also brought to you by Apollo, right? Apollo.io is so amazing. They actually recently got me on board, and we're going to be doing some amazing things later this month. But what is Apollo.io, you ask? Well, the better question is, what does Apollo not do? All right? Apollo has everything you need for your GTM operation. You want accurate data? Apollo's got it. You need a CRM? Apollo's got it. You need sales automation? You know Apollo's got it too. All right? So go there, scan the QR code to go to Apollo. Don't even research it. Just buy it because I'm shouting at you, okay? Apollo.io, they are so great. They are just about as great as our other sponsor today, Flying Cat. That's right. Flying Cat is the premier company to go to for SEO and organic content creation. They not only create organic content that will help you scale your B2B SaaS company, but they operate in the both US and EU hours, right? They are a primarily led women company, right? We've got women running the company, leading the primary amount of roles, and they operate in over 15 different languages, okay? So if you're like me and you don't know anything about SEO, give Flying Cat a call, right? You don't want to leave this to chance, especially if you want to scale your B2B SaaS company in Europe. Go to the experts, go to people that understand organic content and SEO. Check out Flying Cat today. CVP, what else you got for my audience while I'm screaming at him?
Go and follow the Supered LinkedIn page as well. We post loads of content. And if we're talking about making good content, we at Supered do something called Surround Bound, which is where everybody in the organization is posting. We post good stuff. We post all stuff to help RevOps. We post interesting stuff about how we can help people use HubSpot better. So go check out supered.io, download, follow us on the Apollo TikTok, and follow me, and everything is all there.
Yeah, follow all of them, give them your money, and you know what? While we're at it, why don't you follow me too? All right? Why don't you follow me too? And one better, why don't you scan that QR code and talk to me about coaching your team, right? You think Chris Van Praag and Chris Bogue are so special? They're not. No offense, CVP, but there is a funny, bearded, silly man in literally every single B2B SaaS company that exists, and you should be putting that person on video. Or you know what? Maybe that person looks nothing like us. Maybe they're not a goofy white person. Maybe they are a woman. Maybe they're trans. Maybe they are a different ethnicity or a different religion. There are content creators of all shapes and sizes and colors. Get out there on video. Your competitors are not doing it well. And if you want to learn what it's about, I am accepting 2 more coaching clients this summer. So no cheapskates. Do not scan that QR code unless you are planning on paying me. But if you are ready for serious video coaching, go ahead, scan that QR code, meet with me. This has been Gimme Gimme. Iggy, roll the tape.
Hello?
Is this Mr. Sherbert?
It sure is. What can I help you with, brother?
Hello. You were not expecting this call. Do you have 17 seconds to
Hang
learn
on a
about
second.
mercifully short?
Is this a cold call?
I don't know.
You. Never call this number again.
Oh no! Another unsuccessful cold call. You probably don't have time to fuck off.
I got a quota to hit.
Are you spending hours every week cold calling and cold emailing but not seeing results?
There's gotta be a better way.
Introducing the complete guide to selling on video. Whether you're new to sales or a President's Club member, this fast and fun course will teach you to efficiently create short, customized videos that get results. The complete guide to selling on video is not sold in stores. Visit chrisbogue.io and use promo code GimmeGimme to take $50 off while supplies last. Don't delay. Get noticed today.
My B2B SaaS product anywhere in the world. Maybe I should start selling in Europe.
Not so fast, Jimmy. Have you ever run a European marketing campaign before?
No? Gosh, I guess not.
Can you write fluently in multiple languages?
No, just the one.
Do you know anything about regulations in Europe?
Well, maybe I could just have my team bullshit their way through it.
Sound familiar? Hello, my name is Dr. Funkenstein. You know, when I need medical advice, I ask a doctor, but when I need SEO advice, I ask Flying Cat Marketing. Flying Cat is the world leader in customized local SEO and marketing campaigns. They have a team of native language marketing experts spanning across 15 different countries to build fully local campaigns to create and capture demand and increase organic search conversions for your business.
Wow, Dr. Funkenstein. I reached out to Flying Cat just like you said, and they were super easy to work with. How can I ever repay you?
Don't worry, Jimmy. I'll be reaching out to you for a personal favor very soon.
What?
Don't ask your doctor if SEO is right for your business. Get started with your free consultation at flyingcatmarketing.com. And we're back. So if you're just joining us today, I'm here with Chris Van Praag. We are talking about funny business, how to make funny video content for LinkedIn and TikTok. So Chris, thank you for doing Gimme Gimme with me. That's new. That wasn't in the show the last time you did it, but that's the thing we do every episode now. And let's talk a little bit about your favorite topic, creators versus influencers. So we've got a lot of questions here. A lot of people are asking, great questions here. So, we'll go back to Bill's question. And he asks, he's asking, how do you educate yourself on LinkedIn to optimize results? And I want to ask you about the difference between creators and influencers, because there is a tension between these two things that I think everybody feels. And I think creators like to downplay this and say things like followers don't matter, engagement metrics don't matter, likes don't matter. But there is a very real part of us that if like you've said, this is a lot of work, this is a lot of effort to put in. You don't want to make things that don't get seen by people. You don't want to have an audience that is stagnant. You want to be growing. Anytime I make a piece of content, I want as many people as possible to see it. And you end up doing things like trying to understand the algorithm, throwing in little tags, bringing on sponsors. These are the things that allow content to be created. And these are also the things that get you flagged as an influencer as opposed to a creator. So last time you were on the show, you very much bristled at the word influencer. We did a comedy sketch. If anybody wants to go to my LinkedIn and check it out, we dropped a comedy sketch yesterday about that. Chris Van Praag, are you a creator or an influencer? Because I kind of think you're an influencer, even if you don't want to be one.
I would call myself a creator
Okay.
because I personally don't feel like I'm an expert in anything to be able to influence anybody. So I think for me, my definition is why I'm against it. Really, is my definition is an influencer is somebody who has the the knowledge and the audience to be able to influence like people with how they um, do sales or how they do marketing or how they build community. And I think it's tarred with a bit of a dirty brush, which is why I kind of don't like it. But there are some fantastic influencers out there that you should absolutely listen to and be influenced by. I am just not one of them. I would consider myself to be a creator because I make stuff, mostly video content, that I want people to consume and enjoy. And by virtue of that content being good, it has created an audience. So yeah, I've built up 10,000 followers, which is a sizable amount on LinkedIn. And so I think people see the number and go, "Oh, well, that makes you an influencer." But I don't think that because I'm not intending to influence anybody. My job is more marketing. If I'm an influencer, if all marketers are influencers, and I'd say most marketers out there would not call themselves influencers. I would consider myself to be a salesperson who creates content for marketing purposes.
Well, I mean, like,
You
so.
disagree?
Well, I have this saying that there are no influencers on LinkedIn. You know, everybody is just like, oh, I'm a creative. You know, and again, it's there's this tension, and I'm gonna bring Bill's question back up here too, because it's kind of like a Chinese finger trap, where like the more you try to pull out of something, the more it pulls you in, and try to figure out where I'm going with this analogy. But what I'm trying to say is, I go through ebbs and flows with my content. Right. Sometimes I have a very big audience. Sometimes my stuff is seeing huge audience engagement. Sometimes I have weeks or even months where that engagement subsides a little bit. I always get into trouble when I start following the influencers. Like, I love Justin Welsh. I took his course. Justin Welsh, the influential creator on LinkedIn. When I took his advice a little too well, my audience started dropping off. And the whole reason why I came to LinkedIn, I never intended to be a content creator on LinkedIn. I was a sketch comedian, and I had a way that I wrote sketch comedy when I did shows in Chicago. And I noticed that nobody was really doing that on LinkedIn. So the more I have my own kind of vision, the more it takes off. And like, even this show, even when I do weird, unexpected things, that is what gets me to take off. But when I do those weird, unexpected things, that's when I see other people start doing them too. And I always say, and maybe you've seen this before, I knew that I was an influencer on some level when people started taking wrong advice from me. Like, I would say something ignorant because I was running a business for 2 months, and I was like, here's the things you got to know about business. And then like somebody would be like, that is insanely idiotically wrong. No, here's why you're wrong. And I'd read it. I'm like, that person is smart. I am going to adjust and do better. And then a month later, I'd hear someone else be like, now here's what you got to say about business. And they would just be repeating the wrong advice. And I would recognize that they were a fan. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I have to be influencing people because I'm listening to my wrong, incorrect words come out of someone else's mouth. So it's like, I mentioned this earlier, but like, again, I don't see people going out there with the advice. If anybody was on LinkedIn in 2021, 2022, the guru advice that everybody gave was just post every day. Just go hit the publish button every single day, and amazing things are going to happen to your career. I have seen that messaging disappear. I do not see a lot of people saying that on LinkedIn anymore. But me, you, Will Aiken, like people out there who were doing comedy, that brand has persisted. And it feels like the people doing, and like, again, that was not a thing that was common before. So when I see someone like you out there, I think that is influencing people. I think when people see you doing a funny Hollywood back and forth parody on TikTok, I think that influences more people on LinkedIn to do that. So, yeah, I don't know. It's my show, and you're an influencer then.
Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, I think it's it's the issue I have that surrounds it. But I think if I've influenced anybody, it's like do stuff that they've wanted to do, and maybe they've seen me and be like, well, if that guy can do it, then I can definitely do it. Maybe that's the best way I've influenced somebody.
Yeah, I just say, you're going to embrace it. People are going to like, people repeat what they hear online anyway, so you kind of got to just like embrace it. That means as creators, we have to be responsible with what we say. You can't just go out there with a bunch of BS because someone might take it seriously. And then, yeah, when I do have to endorse somebody, I kind of do this superliminal messaging where I just scream at them to go buy my sponsor's products or mine, and it seems to work. So let's go into a topic that I think, and actually this is a topic I really want to hear from the audience about. Like, the secret to comedy is like, go with what you find funny. And there's so many different ways to do comedy. There are so many different styles of comedy out there. There are types of comedy that I really love. I love absurd comedy. I love sketch comedy. I love improv comedy. I love genre kind of comedies where you're really parodying a genre. There are some kinds of comedies that I am bad at. Like, I tell people, I don't do dad jokes. I know some people who are just like, they're all about the dad jokes. They're all about the puns. That is not my forte, So it's like the comedy that I make on LinkedIn looks a lot like my influences growing up, which was absurd shows like Mr. Show, The Kids in the Hall. I was a big fan of sketch comedy. I was a big fan of like old school SNL. So yeah, I want to know, like, how did you get the voice that you ended up with comically? What were the influences that affected you growing up in terms of the pop culture that really stuck with you creatively?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that kind of videos, the sort of sketch stuff, was pretty new to me. I've never made. So I'm not trained like you are in improv, and I never did any. I used to make videos because I enjoyed the process of editing in previous roles, but I'd never done like sketch-based comedy. So for me, humor was always the way of kind of communicating the message. The message always came first. Like, I always made content purposely for B2B, for LinkedIn. I wasn't like already doing like other sketch stuff and other things, and then was like, oh, I can translate this. I think our approaches are quite different in that we kind of make similar sort of comedy content for LinkedIn, but we came from different places. I think for me, I'm inspired by there's a couple of YouTube creators that I really admire, that I really enjoy. Ryan George. If people don't follow Ryan George on YouTube, they should. He's the best creator on there. He's absolutely hilarious. Ryan. And then I'm mostly inspired by pop culture. So I said earlier, like I would cut myself into movie clips and things like that. And the logical way to do that is not in a serious way, is to do it in a lighthearted way, because you're clearly not meant to be part of that scene. So I am, for the most part, just kind of being me. There's a slight nuance to it, but it's not like a character. I don't do characters in the way that you can do characters. I've always just kind of been me. I like to be quite lighthearted and quite fun, and I'm probably one of the funnier ones out of my like close group of mates. So I find that part of it easy, but I am still just being me. I don't think you can completely falsify it. So I think, like, for me, I was like inspired by like pop culture and fun, and movies. Like, I've always been a big movie and TV fan. So I just sort of like and again, I said earlier, like, I like the concept of like, oh, what would it be like if I cut myself into The Notebook? And then I would and then I would write. I know we're going to come to script writing, but I would like write the script, and the script would almost dictate the way that I delivered the lines. So I didn't kind of think, oh, this is my motivation, this is the character I'm going to be. I'd almost like write a funny script, and then I filled that role based on the lines that I'd written. And I think this is only really kind of thinking about this that way, but that is the way that I do that. I'll write the script in my mind. I kind of half say the words and I'm thinking about it and talking it through like that. And then when I come to actually do it, I'll be maybe a bit more animated and things about it, but I write the script and then I act into the role.
Yeah, so I'm going to get deeper into this now too, because it, like, again, I know you're not like trained in sketch comedy or something, but the way you use movies, it almost reminds me a little bit of why people love South Park. So South Park, I feel, is a comedy show that has always succeeded because Trey Parker and Matt Stone are masters of genre. You know, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, the movie, was just Les Mis. It was just Les Mis. And they are so good at taking these classic structures, and you start with that really familiar structure to a story, and then they throw their humor into it, which is very juvenile, very offensive, often very cartoonishly violent out of nowhere, very inappropriate. But my whole thing about comedy, and when I coach comedy to teams, I tell them, like, comedy is two different energies bouncing off of each other. Right? You think back to vaudeville, Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy. You've got the funny guy and you've got the straight man. And the comedy comes because you have the crazy guy, the funny guy. He's acting completely ridiculous by his own logic. And then the straight man is grounding the scene. The audience identifies with that character and how frustrated they would be if they were in that situation. And so, yeah, it's like if you really got to adhere to the reality, there has to be something grounded, and then there has to be something kind of crazy. And the comedy comes when, the more those two things clash off each other. So for your case, I see you are the straight man. You are this polite, you've got a very polite accent. You're very helpful. You're very professional in your demeanor. So when we throw you into The Notebook, or we throw you into like a Hollywood movie, like you're throwing a very relatable character into a very unrelatable circumstance. And, in improv, we say you don't tell jokes, you play games. You find the game of the scene and then you just play the game as hard as you can. And this is a long-winded way of me saying, like, I don't know how my sketch is going to come out when it's all finished. I have that idea in my head and I've got the words that I wrote down. But once you have the game, you can find little games within the game. You can find little games in each line. You can find little ways to react to the reality that's been placed in front of you. And it ends up being kind of like this, you kind of lose control of it, and it becomes something different altogether. So I don't know. I just rambled a bunch, but does that sound anything at all? Like, I'm trying to nail down why it is that your content really sticks out so much,
Yeah, I think you're right. Like the character I would play if I'm cutting myself into a movie scene is dependent on the thing. So sometimes I will be the straight person, but sometimes I'll be the fish out of water in that scenario, depending on the thing that it is. And then I think if I'm doing a scene where it's me talking to myself, or I'm doing like a skit where it's a to and fro, or I have done some where it's just like me talking to an imaginary person,
like The Kidnapper. If the audience has never seen, he did this very funny video. You did this very funny video, Chris, where it was like if the CRM was a kidnapper, I think it was, and it was like you were playing two roles. You were playing a very Hollywood villain kind of being taken hostage terrorist, and bouncing back and forth between that character and yourself as like kind of a hapless sales guy who wasn't able to update the CRM. So you're not an actor, but how do you go about embodying two different characters in a scene like that?
Yeah, I think what I do is it's all about the script. So the reason that I think my content will resonate and the stuff that's always done the best is you take a common trope that people will talk about on LinkedIn. Let's talk about CRM adoption, for example. That, there will be some very sensible ebooks and blogs and LinkedIn posts and lots of content around how people are supporting CRM adoption. Fine. If you think about why memes work because we all, or the people that get the meme, they go, I get it, because we're all associated to that one pain or that one funny thing or whatever. That's what
Inside
that's
jokes.
literally,
Memes
yeah,
are
inside jokes. Perfect. Yeah. So that's why memes work so well. So my inspiration for mine is like, think about the problem, CRM adoption. Why do CRMs not get adopted? X reason. Okay, so then I can take those reasons and then I can turn that into something that's funny. Something that is always funny for me is humanizing things that aren't human. So I've done like, what if the CRM was talking to a therapist? I'm just about to put one out of what if a sales pip, was talking to a therapist. So all the things that people hate about pips, and then it's the pip is like, oh, well, why am I the bad guy? Anyway, I'll post that soon. But you take something that's not supposed to be human and you make it human, and you can associate all the things that are wrong with that. So the example that you gave of like a kidnapper, that was sales had kidnapped the CRM and they're trying to get the information out the CRM, and the CRM's just like, you don't know how to use, all that kind of stuff. So it's all you take all of the stuff that we know that is a problem, stuff that we know, the CRM. Why does no one update the CRM? Why is it so complicated? Why are there so many fields to put in? And it's hard for me to, but I then turn that into the script. So you take the things, you have to take the memeable parts. So if people are watching this and they want to make funny content, and we talk about the kind of actionable stuff, and they want to make that kind of stuff, you take what you take what the problem is, and then and I use inspiration from all kinds of places, but you use that as the founding of the jokes, because the joke is, everyone gets the joke. The platform that you sell solves a problem. There are many, many people that experience that problem. But they will probably laugh about the problem, because if you can't laugh, you'll cry, right? The frustrating things
because they're laughing at you, not themselves. You're the guy who has to deal with the crappy CRM in the video. They get to sit there and forget about their problems because they get to watch you suffer as the performer. Yeah.
So then you can associate that, and people could see that and they'll go, I get it. That's funny. That is a problem that I have, and that's why those things that's the ones that have always done the best. Is it's a B2B problem, but we're making it, we're shining a light on the problem in a funny way. And the great thing for me is that that has a knock-on effect for me as a sales rep, because what it does is I get a bunch of reactions and reposts and comments from people that are like, oh, this problem. And then I can, as a sales rep, I can then go, hey, not only have they seen me taking the piss out of myself, and they realize I'm actually just a normal human person, but also I've got a good reason to say, hey, look, you found that funny. Like, clearly you experienced that problem.
Get them while they're laughing. Get them while they're laughing. Yeah. I mean, that's my sales routine. Put it out there, gets a big splash, go do some sales.
Works.
Hey.
Absolutely.
It's funny too. So I've got this question up here, creative videos, how long should they take? I'm asking you this video because you just brought up that you made a video about a pip. I wrote a video about pips in 2021. And at the time I was working with an actor who quit because he didn't want to do LinkedIn content because he hates LinkedIn. So I've never released the video, but the video is a British character named Pip. And nice. Pip drops by the office 30 days before somebody's ready to be fired. So he's basically like the angel of death. He's basically like, cheerio, and he's very happy, and everybody is just mortified and full of fear and hatred and anger of him because he's this terrifying force. I need another actor to film this with me, and spoiler alert, I still own breakaway glass because the video ends with me viciously beating Pip to a bloody pulp and leaving him for dead out in the middle of a field. But this is a long way of me saying, if that video comes out and that video is a huge success and people are going to ask me, how long did it take that video? My answer is going to have to be, it took me about 3 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's this huge gap where I get this idea and I can't even imagine how I'm going to do it. And then, a year and a half later, it just snaps into place and I'm able to do it. I'm in the same boat as you. We're like, people at home, you see, I've got sponsors for this show. So there are deadlines associated with that. Sometimes I have to get things out. How much time should people spend making videos? And to even go one further, how much time should bosses be willing to allot for this, especially if you're, say, a salesperson? how do you balance that ratio between putting in the time to make quality video content and not spending too much time on content because you also have to do sales?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one because every business is going to function differently, right? Like I some videos for me, they come together really, really quickly, and I can shoot them and I can edit them and I can put them out, and it can take me an hour if I just get my head down and do it. Normally, my process is I kind of chip away at it in between stuff. So I'll often like find, if I'm in the mental headspace of just like we are with most jobs, especially me in sales, you'll be prospecting, you might have calls, and you'll have admin, and you'll find, I don't have the headspace for that now. I'm going to do this. For me, content creation was always just like an additional thing that I found time for. So as long as I was making all of my outbound activities and getting my job done, then I would find the opportunity to make content. And if anything, it motivated me to, get through my quicker and get to give more time to do that other stuff, to get work done. But it was always a side thing. And over the years, it's changed. Like I've gone from being someone that made content that it was encouraged, but there wasn't really a huge amount of like ROI on it, to it being a nice to have. I got my job at Vidyard, for example, because I'd made content, and they were very happy for me to continue to make content. And I built up a good relationship with the marketing team at Vidyard because I was making good content for them. So they were very open to it. And I ended up making content full time at SalesFeed. And now at Superd, I got the job because we're all about content. I talked about surround bound earlier. Like that's a significant part of my role, and I dedicate time and energy to that for the reason that I know that my content generates meetings. And I don't want to call him out, but Adrian, I saw Adrian in the comments. I had a meeting with Adrian today, and we met today because we actually communicated over a video that I put out about Superd. So all that kind of stuff. So it does change. So I think for people watching, it's tricky because it depends on your organization. I think at the very least, you just have to make it something that you want to do. And it's probably almost certainly going to be extracurricular, or you're going to try and do stuff that's quicker. It doesn't have to take long, and you will get better and you will get faster at it, but it probably is going to be an extracurricular thing that you do because you want to do it. And I would always say the metrics and the success has to be around your own personal growth, like whether you're doing it to build your personal brand, because you won't create, just like this is the mistakes I made, make a video, it's going to generate me loads of meetings. Didn't when I first started. You're going to make them, but it is going to probably generate you more profile views. You're going to get impressions. You're going to get more followers, and that's a good thing. But if that's a personal thing, then you probably want to treat it as a personal goal and a side hobby.
Yeah, I want to dig a little bit deeper into companies that actually encourage content creation, because I think this is something that people don't talk about enough. Vidyard, was very big on hiring creators, and I don't think people appreciate what a special thing that is, and I ask this because there are companies that feel very much the opposite way. There are companies out there that they want control of your LinkedIn feed. They do not want you posting content that is, not in line with the company voice, I guess, is their worry about that. And yeah, it's this difficult thing for me. I run my own business. I'm a solo act right now, because I saw that I knew I could be doing things on video and that it would lead to economic opportunities. I was not working in an organization that felt that way. Video was not something they understood. It was not something they embraced. So I knew I had to go my own way to do that. Do you ever talk to people, or what's your reaction to people who were doing things on LinkedIn and then had to stop because for whatever reason their company got worried? And oftentimes that's like, I look at it as, if I stop doing things on LinkedIn, that makes it harder for me to get sales. It makes it that dries up my inbound leads. But there are companies out there that feel the opposite. Somebody misses a quota, and the first thing they say is, you got to knock off this content creation crap and double down on your cold calls. So how do you react when people are, working for companies that clip their wings and say, we don't want you to do this?
I don't have the answer. For me personally, if I was at a company where they said that, that's a major red flag. Like, just because, LinkedIn is a personal network, right? Yes, it's business to business, but and lots of people will sell on it, but ultimately it is a social network. So I think if a business is trying to control that, for me, culturally, that feels like a big red flag. But I do respect, respect, maybe not the right word. I understand why a business might choose to say, oh, especially if they've got a rep that's not hitting quota, they're not generating anything from their content, they're just doing it because they want to generate more followers, and as a result, to be fair, like I get it. Like the rep still need to be doing your job. And I did that. I was always creating it in addition to being able to doing all of my outbound activity. So you absolutely still need to, look after your job. But I think if a business doesn't see the value in creating content and they don't want you to do it, that's a red flag. Because I think it's changed so much now, and that's something that really I really like about Supid is we get that feedback, right? This surround bound thing, everybody in the company are posting, and it's different things. I'm posting this kind of creative, fun video, but a lot of members in the team are posting text posts, and they can be very business related or they can be super personal related. But they see us everywhere, and we're a small startup, so for that it can have a huge impact. So I know we're specifically talking about video. But just having a presence on LinkedIn and putting yourself out there, unless, assuming you're not putting anything that's overtly racist or homophobic or offensive, then it can only be a good thing. It only drives more eyes to the brand because they understand the humans that work at that brand and they want to understand what does that person do their 9 to 5.
Yeah, and maybe the flip side of this, and we'll just end on this note here, that like if you see a content creator, if you're watching this and you're a LinkedIn person, you're a salesperson, you see a content creator that you really like, you see Chris Van Praag, you see me, Chris Bogue, you're like, oh my gosh, those guys must get so much inbound business because they have all these comedy videos. I would not be able to run a business without outbound. I do outbound. I mean, I try to do it every day. At the very least, I'm doing it Tuesday through Thursday. I'm always doing prospecting videos. I'm calling, I'm emailing, I'm going to networking events. Like the inbound content is nice. Course sales are nice. It is nice getting inbound business. I never, ever, ever rely on it. And I have never relied on that from the start. Always, since the very beginning, I have gone outbound and I have landed some of my biggest clients, including the sponsors you see today here. I came to them and was like, hey, I have this idea. I think you should be involved in it. Let me know if you want to chat about that. So all the content you see, all the sponsors, all the funny content videos, the only reason that happens is because I also have to do my outbound motions, and that does not stop. So, Chris, I would love to sit here and talk to you about this forever, but unfortunately, we are out of time. So it's here at the end of the show. Why don't we give one more call to action here for the audience? If you like what you hear from Chris Van Praag, Chris, where can they find you? Where should they look?
Yeah, come find me on LinkedIn. I'm not an influencer, and as a result, anyone that DMs me, I will be sure to reply. There's a couple of questions that we didn't get a chance to answer that I would love to answer. One about the algorithm. There was one in there about prospects and positive rapport. I think, Bill, you put both of those in. And there was another question from Heather about the TikTok feed. Please message me. I do have thoughts on all of that. We've just run out of time. But yeah, drop me a DM. Always happy to chat. And otherwise, yeah, just give me a follow and you'll see some fun content in your feed. Go and look through all the old stuff and check out Supid and check out Apollo and all that good stuff. Great to be on.
Yeah. Chris, so great having you on the show. Thank you very much, everybody. Once again, big thank you to our sponsors today, Apollo.io, the program you need for everything you need for your GTM operation, data, CRM, sales automation, great content creators, awesome community. Just buy Apollo. Don't even research it. Just buy it. And again, our friends at Flying Cat. Flying Cat, premier SEO and organic content creation agency. If you want to know what Flying Cat is, Google it. Go put them into Google right now. Flying Cat SEO. Look them up. They are awesome. Have a great day, everybody.